Hello, everybody, and welcome back. With me in studio is Phil Goss, who's been over across the border several times, and a man who's come from Kyiv by car, correct?
That's correct.
Right across the war area, and with his Ukrainian wife,
That's
Joseph
correct.
Stec.
Yes.
From Ohio, I think.
From Cleveland, Ohio.
That's right. And on the Skype, we have the inimitable Harold von Kursk from the Baltics, our correspondent there, from Estonia, Tallinn, the beautiful capital, and from another beautiful capital, boy, oh boy, they're right next to each other, Krakow, with John Lynch. John Lynch, member of the board of the American Chamber of Commerce in Poland for some time, and a noted figure in the community in Poland, not just in Krakow, but in Warsaw and other cities, and a businessman of note for some, I don't know, is it, John, 30 years, I believe, isn't it, for you?
30 years.
My
30 years
goodness. I remember when you were wearing short pants. John, thank you for joining us. I want to go straight to Joseph for his story. And Phil, you're very old friends with Joseph, and perhaps your stories will come out together, because I think they're both worth telling and very impressive for the audience. So, Joseph, just give us a little introduction to what you've been through the last 2 weeks.
Well, I was excited for Tłusty Czwartek, the Thursday, ready to get my punchki, but instead we got bombs landing in Kyiv, so we were rudely woken at 4 in the morning, and my wife and I were both in a daze because we heard loud noises. We sort of blamed each other, like, why are you waking me up at 4 in the morning? You could smell the missiles, the smoke. The next day, we went, we got some food, and my wife still wanted to stay in Irpin because her parents are close.
Irpin, which is a famous town.
Yes,
as
unfortunately.
It has developed, yeah.
It's become known
as...
northeast
of Kyiv?
No. It is northwest.
Northwest of Kyiv. It's become known as?
I've seen articles calling it the Bridge of Death. So your Polish audience might know the Trójmiasto of Gdynia, Sopot, and Gdansk, but this is sort of a cluster of suburbs. So you have Bucha, Irpin, which is where writers like Bulgakov would go to sanatoriums and their dachas, just forests, parks, a beautiful place. But the next suburb, Gostomel, has the biggest airplane in the world, the Anton, they call it.
The one that was destroyed.
Yes, yeah. Exactly.
That was okay and then eventually got destroyed. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's
and
the
one
city.
Of the Kyiv airports.
Yes,
yeah.
Gostomel it's called.
Gostomel, right, yeah.
So the Russians were going hard for Gostomel, and as I was calling to tell my mother that I'm okay, fighter jets were flying over and the shelling started. So I had to call my mom on 9/11 when I was in New York as buildings were falling down next to me. And then again, I had to call my poor mother in Cleveland and tell her that fighter jets and a big helicopter fight were breaking out in neighboring Gostomel. And as the shelling increased, you could really, on a gut level, you can really feel the shelling, and it's, I guess you're shell-shocked. It's really, really disconcerting, and you feel totally exposed, totally...
Helpless.
Yeah, exactly. You just feel, like you're totally naked, totally helpless. And as the shelling increased, we went to my in-laws' house, and we stayed there because they have a cellar with all their pickled vegetables and pickled fruits, as many
classic
Slavic families
absolutely
have.
Those will come in handy.
Exactly. So then the next day, we were down in the bomb shelter. We're getting all these reports about, they're going for Gostomel, they're trying to go to Kyiv. And we were down there, and my wife was crying, and everyone's in shock and making their peace with God because people thought that it was going to get really bad that day. And at one point, my wife was crying, and she just sort of popped up miraculously, and she said, I remember the story your mom told us in Cleveland that your Ukrainian grandpa escaped, the Russians coming, and they went to Poland and went to America, so let's go. So almost, I have to believe that my Grandpa sent angels down to my wife to
There's a lot of that these
wake
days,
her up.
one way or another.
Yeah, so we went to our house, we got all our cat and dog stuff, threw them in the car, and then we drove away. And then at that point, I work for an AI company, and I write books on data literacy. So data literacy is one thing when you're writing books about it or talking about getting more customers for your rewards program, but it's quite another thing when you know that your ability to digest and understand data is critical. So I was writing to Phil on text, I'm writing to my friends.
He told me that you were in touch, and I was very interested too.
And
I'm glad you're here.
My embassy friends who train the Ukrainian military, I'm writing to them. My wife is writing to people. So we're trying to get all the proper data to know the safest way to evacuate, where to avoid shelling, where to avoid tank movement, or whatever other dangers could have trapped us. So it was really quite scary that you have to know where you're going, and then at the same time, my wife obviously was worried about her parents. She has friends all over Ukraine. So it's this very weird data literacy test where you're worried about saving your own life and then also making sure that your friends and family are safe at the same time. So we made it to outside of Vinnytsia. My wife used to run a modeling agency, so she has models all over Ukraine. So we went to a former model who has my wife's godson, so we stayed with her in a house between Khmelnytsky and Vinnytsia with babushka and a big group of people. So we were getting pierogies and a lot of Slavic hospitality as we were running for our lives. And in between, there's a lot of checkpoints, so you might get stopped by guards with Kalashnikovs, and then a big column of Ukrainian military will go through. So you really feel like you're in a bad Bruce Willis movie. The Russians have invaded Chernobyl.
Are there any good ones?
Here comes the army. So it was almost so ridiculous that I was able to, at least between 9/11 and this, I find that I'm oddly cool under pressure, and so I at least was able to stay calm, drive us through. For whatever reason, when war breaks out, I focus well.
I think we all do. It's kind of a way of surviving. Okay, Phil, what have you got to add to that?
Well, I knew I was going to be fixing for National Public Radio in Poland and then taking some of them to Ukraine. And again, this is a fluid situation, so we're always adapting to the situation on the ground. Because I knew in advance that I would be doing this, I prepared. Meaning what? I went and got my oil changed in my car, and I got a haircut. That's pretty much all I needed. And I did my laundry.
That's why you look so neat and trimmed now.
It is.
But these details are important. It follows on from what Joseph was saying. You want to keep up with as much of normal life. You want to hang on to those things when under stress. It's an interesting thing. Hemingway writes about the importance of these, keeping up with ordinary daily activities when you're under pressure. Go ahead.
Well, not only that, but I wanted to reduce or eliminate all uncertainty or discomfort in order to streamline everything in my own personal life and to maximize the efficiency and reliability of my car, because I know in the case of Joseph, your car becomes your lifeline. And if it breaks down in the wrong position...
It's a nightmare, right?
That's
your worry.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
So...
Oh, yeah.
it was time to get the oil changed. And so I did that. So that was
Did
Thursday.
you do it yourself, or did you take it to the Jiffy Lube?
Jiffy Lube. So anyway, Saturday, the 5th, my birthday, oddly, I drove from Warsaw to Przemysl and picked up my guy from National Public Radio, who had already come into Krakow.
What's his name?
Eric Westerveld.
He's a foreign correspondent.
Yes, he is.
Long standing.
Yes. Yeah. Lots of war experience in Afghanistan, Iraq. Yeah. In any case, and we had some flak jackets. I had never worn a flak jacket before. So My birthday dinner consisted of a cold Big Mac and a warm beer.
Because it was your birthday when you went out there.
But I thank World Central Kitchen for that. Some of the volunteers actually had brought some things back to our hotel, and by the time we were there, the kitchen was closed. So
where were you staying at that point?
At a castle just south of Przemyśl, just up in the hills.
Yeah, I've stayed in that castle.
Yeah.
I know it well. It's beautiful. What's the place?
I can't remember.
It's just in the hills. If you look it up, and you want to stay near Przemyśl, you'll find a castle, a big old castle, and it's very nice.
A nice place to stay, yeah.
Yeah, up in the hills.
Yeah.
Nice.
So in any case, the next couple of days we spent around Przemyśl looking at the old Tesco site, which is the intake where buses will come in, where people come in from some surface people, not rail, arrive there, get something to eat, can go in and rest. It's let's call it, it's the closest thing to a refugee camp that we've seen during the war, where you have people camped out inside an old Tesco. But there's plenty of food, people from all over the world coming, putting people in buses and taking them out. Just by chance. Who wants to go to Italy? Who wants to go to Holland? Who wants to go to Estonia? Get in this bus. Go.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
It's that simple.
Yeah. So Jonathan was talking about some of the same issues.
Yeah. We also did some recon around the border itself at the platform at Medica, where some people coming across will get off to meet prearranged rides.
They're just walking in and
well, that's
getting
the train
on.
platform there. But I don't know, maybe also
to the train platform.
also
Yeah,
people
okay.
walking in will come north of the border crossing itself to an area where prearranged rides at the village of Medica will take them out. But also that we were at the train station at Przemyśl itself, a horror story.
Yeah.
But that was the Polish side of the border.
What was the horror story there? It was
just dealing with the crowds. These are places designed to accommodate large numbers of public. They were never designed to accommodate this level of public flow of people for this long.
Yeah, it's quite a tiny station at Przemyśl.
It's just, it's bursting at the seams with everything, whether we're talking about toilet capacity, food capacity, traffic capacity.
Can we move on? Because we're going to run out of time. Can we move on to Lviv and your experiences there?
So we crossed the border we crossed there at not Medica, Korchova.
Yeah.
We crossed at Korchova, very quick crossing into Lviv, got them dropped off, had a coffee, got out and drove up to Zoshin because I was headed to Lublin. But when I got to Zoshin, I learned that I was no longer heading to Lublin, thanks to you.
Yeah.
So I went to Rzeszów.
Yeah, I was, we were talking and I was sending you some information.
Yes. And in any case, so I went to Rzeszów, spent the night, then back to Przemyśl, where I picked up a world-renowned photographer, David Turnley, who was covering the Polish side of the border.
Not just world-renowned, Pulitzer Prize winner.
Pulitzer Prize winner,
Who cares? He's just a great guy.
He is.
A great photographer. Yeah.
So he had been doing some work in Przemyśl. I picked him up at the train station. We went to the border, went across into Lviv, and we didn't have reservations, but then NPR said, you can have a room at the Astoria. And I said, well, maybe, but then World Central Kitchen steps up again, gave us each a room at another place. So we had lodging, and we liaised with Anderson Cooper of CNN, where David was a guest. And all the time, I'm working the back.
Hey. That's enough about Anderson Cooper.
I'm working the back channel, trying to develop contacts, trying to help people that I know need help in Ukraine, further in, friends of friends who are here in Warsaw. Yeah. So dealing with World Central Kitchen, very nice people at CNN. They basically rented out the entire bank hotel. And,
that's just crazy, huh?
Yeah, so I was out. But anyway, I came out to Rzeszów that day before at Zoshin, back in through Medica, and 2 nights at Lviv at the Nest Hotel, a very nice place. And then out just yesterday, which was Saturday. Friday. Yesterday was Friday.
It was Friday, yeah.
We all met
on our return to Warsaw from the border.
Yeah. So I've been through 4 different border crossings in the course of this past week, Poland, Ukraine. Put about 2,000 kilometers on my car, and here we are today. But what I've seen...
Can you cap it, please? Because I need to... okay, give me a couple more minutes, because I got to go to John and get something from him.
The meat and potatoes of what I saw in Lviv.
John. He's an old friend.
In Lviv, Polish word.
What's the difference? Poles call it Lviv, right?
Right, and the Ukrainian word is Lviv.
Right.
So speaking in English,
important to note that,
I believe we should say Lviv in English, and when speaking Polish, we can say
because
Lviv.
it could be confusing to people.
So we spent, with David Turley, we spent quite a bit of time at the train station.
Wow, lucky
His
you.
press credentials got us in and able to park up there by the food kitchens that were there. Polish Red Cross is present. In Lviv. World Central Kitchen is present. It's just, and it's
they've showed up. They were not there a week ago.
Oh, they were there in a big way.
When was I there? I was there, a week ago.
Yeah.
9 days ago.
Yes, they're also in many other places.
Yeah.
Inside Ukraine.
Well, that's great because there wasn't that sort of
But
help.
you had thousands and thousands of people going into the station in special lines. Here's the train to Poland. Here's a train to Poland.
Yeah.
And they go in, and there's the corridors underneath all the platforms, and it's the furthest platform, because that way they maximize their presence in the tunnels, because these tunnels, at the end of the day, are sheltered from the weather. It's much warmer inside the tunnels, not heated, but the body heat. And of course, it smells like all the glamours
It smells like old clothes.
It smells like,
it smells like
a lot
clothes.
of things, yes.
You know how clothes smell when you don't wash them. But this is close proximity of people. It's a crush, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Phil, thank you very much. Will you come back
Yes, of course.
and be a friend of the show as we
course.
continue this series during the war? Yes. Joseph, will you come back?
I would love to.
Okay. I'm very impressed with both of you, I have to tell you. It's moving. John, please tell us John Lynch, please tell us what's going on in Krakow and what you've been doing. I know you've been involved in relief efforts there. Can you please brief us?
Yeah, sure. I think the most interesting thing for me, so there's an incredible grassroots movement of people helping people at a scale that I've never witnessed in my life. It's almost everyone you talk to, because Krakow is the second largest city in Poland and about 2 hours from the Ukrainian border. So it's very much an important location when it comes to Ukrainian refugees and things going on. But, I came to Poland in 1991, and then what I saw was a free market being created by thousands of little Polish entrepreneurs just doing things and driving milk cartons around and building companies. It wasn't really orchestrated from the top. It was just the country was collapsing and entrepreneurs and individuals were building this new system. The same thing is happening here. It's individual Poles, it's little organizations, it's friends on WhatsApp groups. It's been unbelievable. The evening of the invasion, I got a phone call from an Indian friend who runs the Indian Chamber of Commerce in Poland. He said, John, there were thousands of Indian exchange students in Ukraine. We have 250 are coming to the border within the next couple hours, and we need to get them somewhere to sleep when they get into Poland, but all the hotels are full. Can you help us? And we all started Facebook posting one another, and within a couple hours, we found 250 rooms for Indian kids coming across Ukraine. I'm involved. I think we can't solve all the problems of this war, so I think everyone is biting off a little piece that they can deal with. A lot of people are offering up their homes, and then there's some like aggregators up a couple levels who are helping put together kind of the aggregator of refugees. It's people have homes and people know refugees and are bringing them together, sometimes with apps, with software. What I'm working on is the local administration in Velichko, the salt mine town, has found some buildings in the region, in the area, that are not utilized. They were built for some other purpose, but they're kind of perfect as a hotel, except they were unfinished, no tiles, not painted. And within about 7 days, there are 100 Polish volunteers painting, putting down flooring. I'm helping them organize furniture. My company bought 75 beds yesterday so that people have somewhere to sleep. And this is happening times 1,000 or times 10,000 or times 100,000 all over Poland. And it's just incredible to see. A French minister went to the border, because, we all see refugee camps on TV, whether it's Turkey or Syria or wherever it may be in the world. It's kind of like really sad-looking tent camps and stuff like that. And the French minister came and said, hey, where are all the refugee camps? He said, well, actually, we don't have any. The Polish people are taking them into their homes. So I think there's like 11 million households in Poland. I wouldn't be surprised if 50 or 60, maybe more percent of them actually have someone personally, someone they didn't know a couple of days ago. It's an amazing humanitarian action, and it's inspiring. And I think Poland, which over the years has sometimes suffered from not always the best PR, is, and it's not about PR because nobody cares about the PR. They're just doing heroic things.
And
it's a
John,
real
what you mentioned is
inspiration
actually interesting. Joseph, I think, is a perfect example of that because he's staying with people whom a week ago he didn't know.
Yeah, this is the case, and Joseph's case is the case with many people, but many people are also crossing over to other countries, and they will be transiting, for example, to the Baltic countries where Harold is, to Germany, to France, as John was saying, to Holland, to all the continental EU countries, and it's. I don't know what to say. I'm just so impressed with all of you.
I can also say
amazing.
that for my church in Kyiv, there's tons of students from Nigeria and other countries. So I even met my Nigerian friends here in Warszawa. So there's all sorts of nationalities coming, and they really need a lot of support as well. They seem more maybe lost than a lot of my Ukrainian friends.
Well, I'm sure they're stunned because they came to a supposedly civilized place and they end up in the middle of another war, which is all too common in Africa, in different places, particularly Nigeria.
Yes.
Yeah. Harold, would you care to sum up? Can we have some words from you to sum up this discussion we've had today?
Yeah, well, all one can say is that when one takes into account all these harrowing stories and the suffering of what it will be upwards of 4 or 5 million Ukrainian refugees by the end of March, perhaps, is that we can just look at Putin and just see the personification of evil. This is no longer a matter of, well, is he angry? Is he sad? Is he living in a bubble? This man is evil incarnate. He is Satan brought on earth. And his mission now is to humiliate